DMC.
The film opens in Iraq where a massive Chinese-owned oil refinery is operating in a war-torn desert zone. The camera moves inside where we see a group of hardened security professionals in tactical gear. Seated among the soldiers is Luo Feng. He's wearing his uniform, but his focus is personal. His mission is to evacuate the Chinese civilian employees from the attacked zone. The helicopter lands at the perimeter of the target. Luo Feng is immediately approached by a woman who is also dressed in engineer attire. Her name is Mei. She is an engineer working at the oil refinery, an estranged daughter. As Luo Feng and his daughter Mei drive past the burning refinery buildings, the serious danger of the situation is explained. Mei, who clearly tells him that the attackers aren't just robbers, they want to steal the whole refinery company. Luo Feng decides they must load the buses and leave right away, trying to escape at dawn. Meanwhile, Chris, a former Marine, is living in a struggling, isolated Iraqi village where he looks after several orphans. The village's vital water well is broken, and they need $100,000 to fix it and save the village. Then comes Chris's brother Henry, who is a mercenary working for the villain Owen Paddock. With a bag of money to Chris, Henry lied to Chris about the target. He tells Chris that the convoy they are attacking belongs to a bad guy who attacked them years ago, and they are simply recovering what was stolen. Chris is unaware the mission will involve attacking the very convoy Luo is leading, so Chris reluctantly agrees to the job, believing he's acting for justice and, more importantly, to save his village with the final payment. The money Henry gives him is the down payment for the job. The film now cuts back to the security headquarters inside the besieged oil refinery. It's nighttime, and Luo Feng is gathered with his top security personnel and Mei. They are hunched over a large map of the surrounding desert and roads, planning their escape route. He explains that while this road is the most dangerous, it offers the only chance to outrun a major attack. At the central control room of the oil refinery, Luo Feng, Mei, and the security team are in full command mode. Surrounded by screens, Luo Feng and his team flip on every security camera and sensor to watch the entire facility and the escape route. Mei, using her engineering knowledge, is crucial in making sure all communication systems are active. They finalize the terrifying plan on the maps. The convoy of 11 armored buses will leave at dawn using the dangerous Highway of Death. The clock is ticking. At the main assembly point, the evacuation is now underway. It is just before dawn, and the staging area outside the refinery is lined with 11 large armored buses. A long line of nearly 500 employees, scientists, and frightened children are quickly and quietly being ushered by Luo Feng's security team onto the buses. The mood is tense and desperate. We see the children, the most vulnerable, being matched to their seats first. The convoy is activated. With the passengers finally loaded, Luo Feng takes his position and the massive, heavily armed evacuation convoy slowly begins to move, leaving the supposed safety of the refinery for the deadly path ahead, the Highway of Death. They set up on the highway with a top speed. On the way, Luo Feng have a family conversation with his daughter Mei. The convoy is moving at high speed, but suddenly Luo Feng stops his lead security vehicle. They have just reached the entrance to the Highway of Death, the most exposed and dangerous stretch of road in the region. He gives a sharp, urgent command to Mei, telling her to sit down and buckle up immediately. As soon as she does, Luo Feng floors the accelerator, throwing the vehicle into maximum speed. Luo Feng stopped only to ensure his daughter and his team were secured, knowing that from this moment on they are in the mercenaries' kill zone. The road ahead erupts in a deadly series of explosions and gunfire. Bombs blast near the lead vehicle, kicking up huge clouds of fire and debris. The mercenaries have set a devastating trap, but Luo Feng is ready. He doesn't slow down. Displaying masterful driving skill, he slams the wheel and expertly maneuvers his heavy vehicle through the chaos. Inside the speeding security vehicle, the intense escape forces a moment of painful truth between Luo Feng and his daughter Mei. Mei finally confronts her father, accusing him of cruelty and neglecting the family when her mother needed him most, leaving her to take his place. The bitter talk is cut short as the convoy plunges into an unusual, dense sandstorm. Communications immediately die. Suddenly, the darkness is filled with attackers. Mercenaries on motorcycles speed out of the dust, firing grappling hooks that snag the buses. The attackers leap off their bikes, letting the motorcycles smash through the front windshields to stun the drivers. They swarm the buses, quickly overpowering the drivers and guards in a chaotic, close-quarters fight. The hijack is brutal and fast. The drivers of both Bus 8 and Bus 11 are thrown out, and the masked attackers seize control. As suddenly as it began, the convoy bursts out of the manufactured sandstorm and onto clear road. Luo Feng immediately brings the lead bus to a halt and calls the drivers to assemble. Angry that his team wasn't responding, he learns the attack jammed their entire network. He then asks the terrifying question, "Is the whole convoy here?" A driver grimly confirms seeing Bus 8 peel off in the storm. Luo Feng counts the line of vehicles and realizes the devastating truth. 2 buses have been successfully stolen, along with the hostages inside. The enemy has successfully executed the first part of their plan. At the far east of the desert, one of the hijacked buses is stopped. The blindfolded passengers, the oil refinery employees, are being led out of the bus by the mercenaries. Watching the frightened, defenseless civilians, Chris Van Horn's conscience immediately screams at him. He sees engineers, secretaries, and families. Not the hardened Chris confronts his brother. These people don't look like criminals. Back on the ground, Luo Feng is reeling from the discovery that 2 buses have been hijacked. Luo Feng doesn't hesitate. He immediately gets on the radio and gives a direct, painful order to the helicopter escort team. Return to base, telling them 2 of the buses are missing. When the helicopter returned to the base, Luo Feng and Mei boarding the helicopter themselves. They immediately take off, soaring over the desert sands to begin their desperate search. High above the desert, the helicopter battles the same thick sandstorm that swallowed the convoy. As Luo Feng observes the unusual shape and movement of the dust clouds from the air, he makes a critical realization. The sandstorm was man-made. It was not a natural event. The helicopter continues its search through the turbulent air. Suddenly, a lookout spots something below. One of the missing buses is stopped on the ground and a lone refinery employee is standing beside it, waving for rescues. The action cuts back to the desert floor. Chris Van Horn is now driving one of the mercenaries' armed vehicles, with his deceptive brother Henry sitting right next to him. Chris looks deeply conflicted and uneasy, clearly realizing he can't trust Henry anymore after learning they kidnapped innocent people. High above them, Luo Feng and Mei spot the mercenary convoy from their helicopter. Luo Feng orders the remaining 9 buses to continue driving towards safety. He knows the fight to get the missing hostages back will now have to be a ground mission, when he'll have to handle himself. Luo Feng immediately recognizes the threat and doesn't hesitate. They swiftly open fire on the mercenaries' vehicles, launching the first aerial assault on the attackers. The gunfire forces Chris and the other mercenaries to scramble for cover, kicking off the next explosive battle in the desert. The desert erupts in a massive firefight. Chris and the other mercenary vehicles swerve violently across the sand, desperately trying to dodge the incoming rounds from the sky. Luo Feng is relentless, raining down bullets and forcing the attackers to abandon any pretense of caution. The ground battle is now a chaotic, high-speed exchange. It's a furious mix of sweeping gunfire, dodging, and driving as Chris tries to survive the aerial attack while grappling with the betrayal of his brother, Henry, sitting right beside him. High above the desert, Luo Feng and his team spot one of the hijacked buses abandoned in the sand. With no time to waste, Luo Feng uses a rope to descend swiftly from the helicopter to the top of the bus. Inside, he finds most of the hostages are safe but immediately discovers the chilling truth. 5 critical people are missing. The attackers didn't take everyone, they only took the specific, high-value hostages they wanted. Luo Feng reports the loss. The mission has just gotten more focused and much more dangerous. Meanwhile, the mercenaries' vehicles arrive at their remote hideout. As Chris steps out of the car, he grabs his brother Henry and pulls him aside. Chris is furious and deeply uneasy after helping kidnap innocent people. He holds Henry tight and demands the truth. What is this mission really about? He knows the criminal's story was a lie. Chris needs to know why they kidnapped the oil workers, especially the 5 key missing hostages, before he takes another step. Furious that his brother Henry still won't give him the truth about kidnapping innocent people, Chris Van Horn has reached his limit. Without another word, Chris jumps into his vehicle and violently gears off, leaving the mercenary hideout behind in a cloud of dust. As Chris left, the leader of the mercenaries gunned down Henry. Luo Feng uses the helicopter to follow Chris back to his base, a remote village full of orphaned children. Luo Feng lands nearby, hiding and watching Chris's every move, hoping to use the disillusioned mercenary to locate the main villain and rescue the final hostages. The real mission, a desperate manhunt, has officially begun. From his hiding spot, he finally gets a clear view of the man who attacked his convoy. Luo Feng is surprised by what he sees. Chris Van Horn is not acting like a ruthless mercenary. Instead of planning his next move, Chris is inside the dusty village compound, laughing and playing tennis, not against a professional but with a small orphan boy from the village. This brief moment of humanity shows Luo Feng the conflicting truth about Chris. Luo Feng steps out of the shadows. He doesn't pull a weapon. He simply picks up the tennis ball that went wide of the court, revealing himself to Chris in the village compound. The 2 legends, the protector and the mercenary, meet for the first time in a tense, silent standoff, which quickly turns into a bizarre game of cat and mouse using the tennis ball. Chris breaks the silence first, asking simply, "You lost." Luo Feng throws the ball back, his face grim and focused. His reply is a clear threat: "I'm coming for my people." This moment establishes the core conflict. Luo Feng is there for the hostages Chris helped kidnap, and the battle between them is about to begin. Both closed the gap between them by taking steps forward, but a small boy came and intercepted, asking Chris to come and play with him. Luo Feng momentarily breaks contact with Chris, but remains hidden near the village, monitoring him. Soon after, Chris leaves the village in his white pickup and drives to a nearby radio tower. He enters the small structure and is met with a horrific sight. His brother, Henry, has been executed and is lying dead alongside the other kidnapped mercenary crew. Chris kneels before Henry in heartbroken shock. Suddenly he hears a noise. Luo Feng has followed him inside. Before Luo Feng can react, Chris, consumed by grief and rage, ambushes him from behind. The two men immediately erupt into a violent, close-quarters battle, trading heavy blows among the equipment. Chris desperately throws a heavy tank at Luo Feng, who narrowly dodges it. During the fight, Luo Feng yells his accusation. "You killed my people." Chris fiercely denies it, shouting back, "No, they killed my brother too." Before they can process this shared grief and betrayal, their fight is interrupted. An army officer arrives and demands the money Chris was promised. When Chris says he doesn't have it, the officer and his men open fire from their cars, raining bullets down on the radio tower. Chris and Luo Feng instantly stop fighting and scramble for cover behind the metal structures. Chris shouts a desperate request to his former enemy, "Magazine!" Luo Feng throws him a clip and the duo, now side by side, fire back at their common enemy. Chris calls for a grenade and Luo Feng tosses one over. Chris throws it outside, the resulting explosion temporarily silencing the attackers. The realization is immediate. They are both victims of the same, larger conspiracy and must now fight together to survive. While Chris and Luo Feng are having a friendly conversation elsewhere, the main villain, Owen Paddock, and his mercenaries have successfully brought the key hostages, including the crucial engineer, Professor Chang, to the refinery central control room filled with computers that run the entire operation. Owen's plan is clear. He needs Professor Chang in the control room to restart the refinery's oil production. He intends to steal the millions of dollars worth of crude oil for himself. Owen knows that Chang is the only person who can activate the computer systems and restart the flow of oil. He uses a mixture of threats and manipulative logic, trying to convince the professor that working with him is the only way to ensure the safety of the other hostages. Owen's attempts to coerce Professor Chang fail. He quickly turns to brutality to force her hand inside the control room. Owen executes a horrific show of force. A gunshot rings out and he coldly kills one of the hostages. Even with a body on the floor, Professor Chang refuses to break. Owen remains relentless, firing again and killing a second hostage. Finally, Owen turns the gun away from the remaining adults. He approaches the hostages, unmasking the third person, who is Professor Chang's young son. Pointing the weapon directly at the boy, Owen issues his final terrifying threat. In anguish, Professor Chang screams and gives in. She tells Owen the codes and vital information are located in her bag. Owen immediately demands to know the bag's location, but the panicked Professor Chang genuinely doesn't know. Frustrated and about to lash out, Owen is interrupted by the boy. Professor Chang's son bravely speaks up, telling the mercenaries they can track the bag because his phone is inside it. This single detail gives Owen the clue he needs to pursue the codes and inadvertently provides Luo Feng with the key to tracking them down. The scene cuts away from the violent control room back to the village. Chris, May, and Luo Feng are now together in the compound. Surrounded by the children Chris is trying to entertain. The tense environment is shattered by a ringtone. May's phone rings, displaying an unfamiliar number. She answers and is quickly confused as the person on the other end is asking for directions. Luo Feng, suspicious and hyperalert, demands to know who is calling. May told him someone calling Professor Chang's phone. Luo Feng immediately realizes the immense significance. The mercenaries have the phone. This means they are on the move to retrieve the notebook with the oil codes. Chris and Luo Feng step away from the children to have a private discussion outside the compound. In a tense but respectful moment, the two men formally introduce themselves and finally lay out their motives. Chris reveals his dark past. He was a soldier who felt abandoned, and he took the mercenary job to get money for the village children's broken well. More importantly, he tells Luo Feng the shocking truth about his own father's death and how the mission they thought they were on was a lie. Luo Feng, in turn, shares his own pain, explaining his fractured relationship with his daughter May and the guilt he carries over his wife's death while he was away on a mission. However, their moment of truce is shattered when they hear the dogs barking fiercely in the distance. The sound is an immediate primal alert that tells the former soldiers the mercenaries are already here, having tracked the phone to the village. The short-lived moment of understanding is over. They now have a common enemy to fight together. United by a common enemy, Chris and Luo Feng move as one into the village compound, now crawling with Owen's mercenaries. The two separate, plunging into a fierce, silent battle. Luo Feng bows down as he spots one mercenary while Chris uses brute force to drag another through a wall. Luo Feng then uses the element of surprise, holding one enemy at gunpoint just as another group rushes around the corner. Chris leaps from above, crashing down onto the group, sending them all tumbling as the ground beneath them breaks. They quickly recover and the two veterans operate as a perfect team. Luo Feng signals, Chris pulls an enemy down by his leg and they simultaneously gun down another moving threat. Despite their skill, they are soon surrounded by mercenaries wielding heavy machine guns, all demanding the bag containing the codes. To protect the innocent villagers, Chris runs inside and reluctantly surrenders the bag. May confronts him, angry that he gave up their only leverage, but Chris fiercely explains he's only protecting the village children from bloodshed. Once the mercenaries leave, May reveals the bag contains a USB drive and codes needed to unlock the refinery. Chris and Luo Feng decide to pursue them immediately. Luo Feng forbids Mei from joining, but she gives them a critical warning. Don't use guns in the refinery, it's highly flammable. The duo buckle up and roar out in the pickup, passing the waving, hopeful villagers as they race toward the final confrontation. The mercenaries arrive at the refinery. In the control room, Owen forces Professor Chang to slot the USB and enter the codes at gunpoint. The main console lights up, and the automated oil flow begins, quickly filling the waiting ships. Meanwhile, Chris and Luo Feng tear across the desert in the pickup. A road watcher spots them and opens fire, but Chris, moving at breakneck speed, smashes through the refinery gate. The duo splits up for a heavy, close quarters brawl inside the facility. Owen Paddock realizes the attack is underway and quickly flees with his main men, leaving a few mercenaries to guard the hostages. Chris showcases his incredible combat skills, smashing mercenaries down with precise, powerful strikes. Luo Feng, fighting on a higher level, is just as effective. Chris throws a heavy pipe that takes a guard out. They successfully fight their way to the control room, where Luo Feng secures Professor Chang and her son, urgently telling them to hurry and run. As the fighting continues, the final battle for the refinery is now underway. The scene cuts to Owen abandoning the control room to flee the refinery, leading a convoy of stolen fuel tankers. He escapes in a massive, unique vehicle. The jet truck. Chris immediately gives chase to the refinery exit, intent on intercepting Owen. Just as he reaches the gate, Mei suddenly appears behind the wheel of a utility truck. Chris briefly orders her to turn back, but there's no time. Instead, he shouts for her to drive fast as they commit to the high-speed pursuit of Owen. Meanwhile, Luo Feng remains inside the highly flammable refinery with the remaining security team, committing himself to fighting the last wave of mercenaries guarding the inner facility. The final confrontation is split. Luo Feng cleans up the refinery, while Chris and Mei race across the desert on a desperate mission to stop Owen and the stolen oil. Chris and Mei push their utility truck to the limit, trying to stop the escaping jet truck. However, the dangerous maneuver causes their vehicle to somersault and overturn in a cloud of dust, leaving them stranded and disoriented in the desert. Just when it seems Owen is about to escape, they hear an engine approaching. It's Luo Feng, who successfully finished the fight at the refinery and is now driving a larger, more powerful truck. Chris and Mei scramble out of their wrecked vehicle and quickly join Luo Feng in his truck. Reunited, the trio now have the necessary firepower and speed to continue the ultimate chase and stop Owen before he gets away with the oil. Chris urges Luo Feng to push it to max speed, but the heavy vehicle can't go fast enough to catch Owen's escaping convoy. Thinking quickly, Chris finds the controls for the massive engine at the back and yells, "Hit the jet!" He fires up the jet engine, which roars to life, giving the truck a blinding surge of speed. They hurtle across the desert, catching Owen Paddock and his tanker convoy mid-route. The ensuing collision is catastrophic. The jet truck slams into the tanker convoy, causing a huge pileup where vehicles somersault, crash, and explode in a spectacular chain reaction. The devastating collision sends the oil tankers up in flames. Owen Paddock's driver is killed instantly in the wreck, but Owen is not done. He scrambles across the seat, grabs the wheel of his damaged vehicle, and furiously drives off toward the cliffside. Luo Feng, Chris, and Mei are right on his tail in the jet truck. They corner Owen at the edge of the deep valley. The two trucks smash together one last time, with Luo Feng, Chris, and Mei successfully using the momentum to send Owen's vehicle crashing over the cliff's edge to his final explosive demise. In a final, Luo Feng, Chris, and Mei manage to escape the plunging wreckage, clinging to a ledge jump just in time. They survive. That's the end of the recap. Please like and subscribe for more recaps like this.